Today we're going to talk about three big ideas. The first one is consent of the governed. And it's the idea that a government is legal and justified only when its citizens have given their consent to be governed. Consent is a noun. It means permission for something to happen or agreement to do something. Consent of the governed is the first big idea we're going to talk about. And the other two are individual beliefs and institutional beliefs. Individual beliefs are thoughts and opinions that individuals believe in and support for themselves. Institutional beliefs are different. They are thoughts and opinions that individuals must support for the greater good of an institution. What's an institution, you ask? Well, it's something bigger than the individual. It's something that they're a part of. It could be their country or their branch of the military or their religion, their business, their government, their school, something bigger than themselves. The idea of consent of the governed appeared in a document called the Declaration of Independence. You're probably familiar with this first part. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Right there at the bottom. Deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That's one of our big ideas. Consent of the governed means that the most effective governments have the support of its citizens, but it's not always the case. Some governments are really ineffective. So what happens if the people don't give consent? What happens when citizens and governments disagree? What happens when individuals and institutions disagree over issues of authority? Well, we're going to talk about these questions, and we're going to address it through the lens of ancient Rome. We're going to learn about a rebellion that happened in 66 AD. We're going to find out why the ancient Jews rebelled against Rome and how Rome responded. So, a little bit of background. Here's a map of the Roman Empire. It's orange. We're going to focus on the eastern edge in Judea, which had two really important cities, Jerusalem and Bethlehem. The movie puts a big emphasis on the city of Jerusalem. A little bit of background for you. The Romans conquered Judea in 63 BC and Jerusalem was sacked by Pompey. The guy on the left is the actor who played Pompey in the movie about Julius Caesar. On the right-hand side is a painting of Pompey. He had a little more hair in ancient days. Back to this map. The Romans conquered Judea in 63 BC and they set up a government, and they realized that if they have Roman officials and politicians telling Jews what to do, the Jews might not like it. So they decided that the best way to control Judea was to allow the Jews to rule themselves. So they had Jewish politicians and Jewish tax collectors going into Jewish cities and towns and homes and passing laws, collecting taxes, and it was all done under the supervision of the Roman governor. But over time, the Roman governors became corrupt and the Jews began to resent Rome. And this resentment created three groups within the Jewish population, and they had very different ideas about what to do with Rome. All three of them wanted Jewish independence, but they disagreed about how to go about getting it. The first group were the Peacekeepers. They wanted Jewish independence, but they wanted to avoid sacrificing Jewish lives. So they wanted to maintain peace with Rome by not fighting, and they just wanted to wait for the Romans to eventually leave. Group number two was not so patient. They were negotiators. Now they realized that Rome was too powerful for the Jews to defeat in battle, but they hoped that they could resist long enough and make it difficult enough for the Romans that the Romans would negotiate a new peace where the Jews might get a little more independence. The third group were the Zealots. They were hardcore rebels who were willing to fight to the death, even if it meant sacrificing thousands of Jewish lives. They did not compromise with Rome at all. As you watch the movie, there are five main characters. The first two are Roman. Vespasian, who was a general for Emperor Nero and became emperor himself, and his son Titus. Together, they fought against Josephus, who was a Jewish rebel. He also was an educated man, and he wrote a written record at the end of this rebellion, and most of the movie you're about to watch is based on his written record. Finally, you have Hanan, a tax collector, and The last Jewish character is Yohanan, a radical rebel. As you watch the movie, make sure you answer the questions for each section. They will be valuable to you in class. Also, pay attention to those 5 main characters. In what ways does each character reveal their individual beliefs and opinions about the rebellion? And how do Romans and Jews support their institutional beliefs at the same time? In other words, how do the Romans support Rome? How do the Jews support Jewish independence? And finally, try to categorize the Jewish characters as being either peacekeeper, negotiator, or zealot.
In AD 66, the biggest rebellion ever against the power of Rome broke out in the remote province of Judea. The fear was it could destabilize the whole empire. To stamp this out, Rome turned to the outcast General Vespasian and his son, Titus.
If they want war, then that's what they'll get.
This is the story of how they rose from disgrace and obscurity to crush the rebellion. Their reward would be that both would become emperor. Their legacy survives even to this day, for they would build one of the greatest symbols of the power of Rome. In the spring of AD 66, Josephus ben Mattatyahu witnessed one of the greatest rebellions in the history of the Roman Empire. This film is based on his written account of those events. The rebellion began because of the Roman governor of Judea, what's now modern-day Israel. The Jews hated him for his corruption, embezzlement, and extortionate taxes.
You think I'm going to stand here and be shouted at by this rabble? I thought it was your job to collect the taxes. Isn't that why we support you? Get on with it. Or you can make up the shortfall yourselves.
Quiet, please! Please be quiet! We will speak for you! Quiet! Governor, please.
What is it, Hanan? You and your friends not doing well enough out of us? Find the money, or we'll come and get it. From you!
Within weeks, the governor carried out his threat. He sent his troops into the holiest shrine in the Jewish world. The Romans were driven out of Judea. The rebellion was now unstoppable. "6 months later, 30,000 Roman troops were sent to put down the revolt. The massacre of Beth Horon was the Roman army's worst defeat by a rebelling province. Rome now feared that revolt would break out in other parts of the empire. Titus Flavius was a young officer in the Roman army and the son of the veteran general Vespasian.
Father! Titus! How are you, my boy? Come on over. No, thanks. Don't want any of those getting under my armor. Oh, he's afraid of the little bees.
Vespasian had been dismissed from the Emperor Nero's court. He had fallen asleep during one of his interminable poetry readings.
What brings you all the way down here?
Well, to see you, Father.
Yes, and?
Well, the Emperor.
The Emperor? It's not that poetry business, is it? I thought he might have forgotten about that.
No, it's not that. It's the revolt in Judea.
Judea? Who gives a damn about Judea? Can't the governor there deal with it?
Well, apparently not. The Jews have killed around 6,000 of our men.
What?
12th Legion was cut to pieces. They lost their eagle, too. Emperor's in a complete fury. He wants the revolt put down immediately before anyone else gets the same idea.
And what does he want me to do?
Well, he wants you to take command in Judea.
Does he now?
Father.
What? What is it?
When you're getting your orders from the Emperor...
Ask him to give you command of a legion.
Well, yeah, that would be nice, but no. Try not to fall asleep this time.
This is a new beginning. A new beginning for us all. We have driven the Romans from our holy land. We have our own Jewish state.
Back in Jerusalem, the Jewish leader, Hanan ben Hanan, was filling the power vacuum left by the Romans.
But the Romans will return. And when they do, we must be ready for them. We must raise an army to fight them. Are you with us?
Right, gentlemen. Judea. First thing, these Jews are tough bastards. Remember what they did to the 12th? This will not be easy. Second, their main army and their government are based in Jerusalem. They will...
Let's go straight at them. Take Jerusalem and cut the whole damn rebellion off at its head. Nice and clean.
Placidus, that's the one thing we shouldn't do.
Why, sir? Why not?
Jerusalem is built like a fortress. They're armed to the teeth. We'll lose a lot of good Roman lives for no reason. No, we need to be cleverer than that. What these people understand is fear.
Too damn right.
So, we burn every village, slaughter every man of fighting age, kill their cattle, drive their women and children into slavery. We will unleash a reign of terror so brutal on these people, they'll come to us begging for mercy.
When do we start?
At once. Titus, I want you to go to Egypt to bring back the 15th Legion from Alexandria. Petulanus and Trajan with the 5th and 10th. You'll come with me. We'll rendezvous in southern Syria, Ptolemais. Then, starting with Galilee in the north, we send hell into Judea.